Shalom, shalom, Akim. This is brother Mashaba coming back at you with another lesson. First, before I get into it, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Bahashim Kakudash. Second thing I want to do is give double honors to all the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and the salutations to all the brothers that are pushing truth about sincerity and with charity. All right, so what I wanted to get into is, just how to go about a bit about how to go about your day-to-day life. As a man of the Lord. First and foremost, all right, we got to be applying scriptures, on our daily walk, man. Whether it be, waking up, pray. So, First Thessalonians say, pray without ceasing. All right, even walking out, being circumspect, okay, or handling a matter, a situation that could get heated. Scripture say, are you gonna, spit on the fire, or you're gonna, I forgot how it went. I'll probably get it, but yeah, man, it's scriptures in the Bible, for every situation you could be dealing with in life, man, and for a more, orderly, better, day-to-day walk of life, we should be applying scriptures to our life, okay. This is a book of life. The Bible is the blueprint. All right, but this is 2 Corinthians 5:16. Wherefore henceforth know we no man after the flesh, yet though we have known Mashaba-GmsChicago after the flesh, yet now henceforth now we know him. Henceforth now know we him no more. Therefore, if any man be in Mashaba-GmsChicago, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. So, yeah, man. Okay. In this truth, we got to become a new man. Okay. A new creature. All right. That sounds like a good title lesson. All right. I might do a lesson on that. We got to become a new man / creature. Okay. You want to get rid of that nigga. All right. That you was in the world, or that little boy, okay? Because let's say, you struggling to, you struggling to be better, but you keep finding yourself, still doing, bad habits, man. All right? You can't be the person that you are anymore, all right? You can't be, you can't be a regular Michael anymore, man. All right, you can't be just that regular nigga a Michael on the street. All right, you got to become Micah Allah. Okay, you got to become a new man. All right, you got to transform yourself. You got to become a new person. All right, because Michael not gonna read the scriptures every day, and he not gonna go out, and teach on the highways and byways. All right, he not gonna be wise in his day-to-day life. All right, but Micah Allah will. Okay, and this is just an example. All right, Michael won't, but Micah Allah will. All right, Michael ain't a leader. All right, but Micah Allah is. Okay, you get what I'm saying? All right, we got to become a new. We got to have a new mindset. All right, we got to do things different, physically, mentally, and spiritually. All right, in order to grow, man. All right, maybe do a little 20 push-ups off the wake up, and before you go to sleep, build a little discipline. All right, pray when you wake up, but before you go to sleep, at least, all right, should be praying throughout the day. All right, read at least 5 chapters, off the wake up before you go to sleep. All right, you got yourself a routine, a schedule. All right, you transforming, okay. But yeah, man. This 2 Corinthians 5:18, all things are of Yahweh, who hath reconciled us to himself by Mashaba-GmsChicago, and hath given us to the ministry of reconciliation. All right? Oh yeah, remember. On to the next precept. Colossians 4 and 5. Walk in wisdom toward them that are without, redeeming your time. Let your speech be always with grace seasoned with salt, that you may know how you ought to answer every man. Okay? Another thing. Okay, be wise. All right? As I, mentioned at the start of the lesson, you may be in a situation with somebody where, what you say can either diffuse the situation or turn it up. Okay? So, we got to be wise. Scripture say, life and death is in the power of the tongue. Okay? So, we got to, and that's also where, coming, praying to the Lord comes into play. Because you may not know what to say. You may not know what to do. But with the guidance of Yahweh Shai, all right, he's going to guide you. All right? He's going to give you the increase and the wisdom of what to do. That's why we got to also pray. Okay? So, yeah, man, because let's say, well, I already gave, an example, but yeah, man, it's so much stuff that can be, so much situation that it can turn out good for you, if you be wise, all right, rather than being a nigga, all right, because you could turn the situation a whole lot worse, being prideful, okay, or being in your feelings in general instead of moving with wisdom. All right, sometimes in the situation it may just, be better to turn the left cheek, okay, just to be the bigger man. All right, and it's not being scary, it's being wise. Not saying to let a man put his hands on you, no, but before a situation even gets like that, all right, just learn to just be like, this nigga ain't worth my time, man. All right, let me go about my day before something else happens. Okay, we gotta be wise out here. So yeah, man, have that speech seasoned with salt. All right, but this is Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 15. See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. All right, we got to be circumspect out here, man. All right, as I said, all right, you could be walking out, especially, and this is from, this video coming from the GMS branch in Chicago. All right. So out here, anything can happen, really, man. All right, a teenager at my own school just got arrested because he, shot at 7 or 9 people. All right, all not even, past the age of 18, man. All right, 13, 14, 15, all right, year olds, man. All right. That's a Lord. The Lord must have just put a spirit of vengeance upon him, because I don't know what possessed him to just start shooting at random people. All right, because a few of them people were also females. All right, so yeah, man, that just had to be a spirit of vengeance. But all right, nonetheless, anything can happen out here, man. We got to be circumspect. Okay, you walking down the street, you see this, group of let's just say niggas, with ski masks, all right, and they, stand you down, man. All right, any person with a brain is gonna walk the other way. So what if you look scary? All right, if you went that way, your ass could have got robbed, man. Okay, just because these niggas wanna look tough or whatever, and if you try to resist, all right, they could smoke you, man. Okay, we got to be circumspect and wise. Okay, applying the scriptures to your day-to-day life, all right, is really going to save you in a lot of, in every situation. Okay? Verse 17, wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. Okay? Be ye not unwise, man. Okay? And sometimes you just got to, if something happens in your life, sometimes it's just like, well, all right, well, then this is what the Lord wanted to happen, man. Okay? I got to, just pick my head up and keep on going, man. All right, this happened for a reason. All right, but yeah, man. Verse 18, and be not drunk of wine wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit. All right, and I'm pretty sure this is talking about, spiritually drunk. Okay, don't just be out here going to all these parties and this and that. Don't do too much of anything, man. Especially if it's folly. All right, be not over righteous, but definitely don't be over wicked. Okay, we gotta stay locked in, man. Okay, we here for, to do the will of the Lord. Okay, and for our own salvation. Okay, you can't just be out here doing, and West Bumblefuck, doing whatever, man. All right, we got to stay locked in. Okay. But yeah, this is Sirach chapter 18 and verse 20. Before judgment, examine thyself, and in the day of visitation thou shalt find mercy. Humble thyself before thou be sick, and in the time of sins show repentance. So yeah, last point, man. All right, we got to examine ourselves. All right. Every day you should be like, am I better than I was yesterday? All right, or at least once a week. All right, you should take a look at yourself. What have I done this week to be better than I was last week, man? All right, cause yeah, man, you don't just become a new creature overnight. You don't get a 6-pack overnight. Okay, it's a process. So yeah, all right, and we all gonna have stumbling blocks and go off in this journey of ours because we still in the flesh. Okay, so you may be doing this one day. All right, you got your routine going. All right, you usually 100 push-ups. All right, the 3 lessons. Read some scriptures. All right, this and that. All right, in the next day. All right, you kind of find yourself. I don't want to say spiritually worn out, but you kind of find yourself lacking that consistency. All right, and you don't do as much. All right. It could be a day that go by where you don't even read a single chapter, or you forget to pray in the morning, man. All right, it's a slip up, a stumbling block. That don't mean to doubt yourself. All right, that just means to get back up and find a consistent routine. All right, maybe instead of tearing your body up and doing 200 push-ups every day, all right, maybe split it up. All right, 50 push-ups when you wake up. 50 push-ups at night. All right, not too damaging on the body. Okay, all right, some scriptures. All right, when you wake up, and a few before you go to sleep. All right, a little prayer when you wake up, and another prayer when you go to sleep. All right, it's just about building consistency. Okay, and applying the scriptures. All right, but yeah, man. And over time, you will see yourself getting better. You sticking to a consistent regimen. All right, examine yourself. Be the one to cuss yourself out. The hardest person, the person that should be the hardest on you is you. Okay, and if it's not, you need to, change your mindset. All right, but that's all I wanted to get into with this lesson. So with that, I hope it was edifying. I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahshai, Ba'ashem Kakodash. Second thing I don't do is give double honor to all the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations to all the brothers out of pushing truth, both sincerity and maturity. Shalom, wa kwam yasharala, wa ababa ball. Shalom, I can stay faithful.